Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Freddie. We're back again in the studio. I have the Machine Micro, but we're just using it as a MIDI controller. Just basically, if you can just focus on the 16 pads, nothing else pretty much. We're just using the 16 pads just to trigger some stuff. Yeah, sorry, it's been a while since I posted a video. I've just been really busy. Um, Mainly finishing up my album. We're just basically wrapping it up. Like I said, I'm coming out with an album with Jakarta Records. Jakarta out of Germany. They're based out of Berlin. But they've released stuff with Taku and Dr. Dundiff and like Ivan Avs and early Kaytranada stuff. And they also have their sister label, I think it's Habibi Records, and they do a lot of old funk and soul and stuff like that. So should be cool. So we're just basically wrapping it up now. I'm basically submitting everything pretty soon. So I'll have updates of when that'll be available for release, and we'll come out with some teaser stuff for everybody to listen to. So yeah, just follow me for updates. But also, I've been really busy with like work as well. And when I say work, I mean like making sounds or making music, pretty much. Um, and I get contracted by some different companies for different things. But one of the companies that I'm working with, they make sample kits basically, and I kind of want to show you what I kind of do on the day to day, pretty much how I work. Um, Basically, making drum kits from scratch, pretty much. So, these kits in particular are basically your kind of 16 pad layout kits, like how you would work on an MPC, or in this case, I have Ableton. I'm actually using Ableton 9 for this. Ableton drum rack, basically. You can also use these kits in machine basic layout, 16 pad layout. So the way I have to kind of create these kits from scratch basically is make drums as well as a few melodical stabs or elements. So these are all kind of sounds I created as well as bass lines. So kind of utilize only these 16 pads to kind of come up with basically a loop or like a pattern of how I would kind of make this stuff. And this is pretty much one of the kits that I came up with. So usually I'll start with the drums for this. So once I have the drums kind of where I want them, then I'll go on and create something melodical. So for this, these are all kind of like keys that have some effects to it and everything. And then I'll add little kind of melodical stabs on top of it. And then the bass line basically. So yeah, that's kind of how I have this 16 pad layout. And yeah, and then there's a lot more to it, so I have to kind of like export all the sounds and then kind of bring them back into Ableton just so everything is cohesive and everything's named, all the file names are correct, and all the levels are kind of correct for this. But yeah, that's basically kind of how I come up with these like 16 pad sample kits, basically. So once I have everything kind of down, uh, at the same time that I'm creating these kits, I'm also basically creating like a loop or like a pattern. And this was the final pattern for this. Um, I can kind of maybe mute some stuff just so you can kind of understand how I'm coming up with this stuff. So let me go ahead and mute these other melodical stuff as well as the bass line. So this is everything with the drums and the melodical stabs. Okay, so once I have that kind of going on, I'll come up with a bass line. And since I'm only using 4 pads for the bass notes, I can't really go all crazy or anything. Mainly just like one shots. A lot of these kits are just one shots for the most part. So I have to kind of come up with a clever way, or like a usable way of using 4 bass notes. So on the keyboard, I'll just sample in me playing the bass, or basically just the main 4 bass notes that I would play. And these bass notes at the top here are on a gate basically, and they're on a mute group, so they don't overlap each other. Same, I think, with these melodical elements too. They're on a mute group, so they just don't overlap each other. So here it is with the bass line as well as the stuff you just heard. And you can kind of see the MIDI information here for that pattern. Yeah, so that was with the bass. And then from there, I'll kind of come up with like other melodical stuff to layer on top of it. So in this case, I sample, or, I play the guitar basically. But I only took I added some effects as well as some other stuff. But I only took just a couple of those notes. So let's hear it with this first guitar sound. And here's the second guitar sound. So yeah, you can kind of come up with different ways of playing this pattern. You don't have to play it exactly how I am presenting it. Like these kits are mainly made for everybody to kind of freak their own way or flip their own way. So this guitar thing was just kind of like a repetitive kind of me playing the pad. And then this one is, I kind of do this trigger happy kind of I guess, I don't even know, playing style. And then this last thing is just like a little blip. I think I just played something on the keyboard, just like one note, and then you can kind of add some effects to it. So here's everything in its entirety. Yeah, so basically I have to create these kits from the ground up, basically. Since I can't sample anything, I have to kind of make my own drums and make my own melodies, like melodical stabs, as well as, play the guitar on stuff, just like one simple notes just to kind of layer on top. And then once it's all set and finished, I pretty much export all the sounds and then kind of bring them back into Ableton just to make sure everything's cohesive and all the names are named properly, all the file names, as well as, I just save them as in this case, an Ableton session. And then people, once they purchase the kits or download the kits, they can just open it within Ableton, or, like I said, we're using this for Machine as well as the MPC Live or the MPC software expansion packs, as well as I think Reason is going to be another one of them. But yeah, you basically open up the kit and then you're presented with these 16 sounds and you can kind of do whatever you want with them pretty much. So if you're not really feeling the tone of these melodical samples, you can pitch them down, you can pitch them up, you can add your own effects to them, you can just make them sound however you want to make them sound. Same with the drums. If you want to pitch it or whatever, however you want to do it, you can do that as well. So the pattern is basically just to show you kind of what I came up with using these sounds. But then for the user or whoever uses these sample kits, they can come up with their own pattern. And yeah, that's pretty much how I come up with these kits. In a given, like I said, I'm pretty busy with this. So in a given week, I'm pretty good at delegating my own workload for the most part. I'm pretty good at it. I can realistically, I can kind of come up with these kits, maybe a kit a day. And that's me me sitting down and manipulating the sounds the way I want them and kind of putting my own flavor into a lot of these kits. I mean, anybody can sit down and then kind of put it in a bunch of cheesy sounds and call it a day. But, I kind of want to take my time, a little bit of my time throughout the day to make these kits and to kind of put my own kind of, I guess, flavor or my own signature kind of sound within these kits because, most of these people that purchase these kits or download them, they're after my particular sound. So I wanted to use stuff that I know that I would use in a basic like beat making session rather than just a bunch of useless sounds that I know I wouldn't be really utilizing. But yeah, that's pretty much how I come up with this stuff. And then it's a little bit different. I'm so used to working in Ableton and working in arrangement mode or like, session mode, the clips, and coming up with a bunch of stacks of sounds. But for this, I'm only allotted like 16 sounds or 16 pads to work with. So I have to be pretty resourceful of how I kind of utilize all these sounds. I can kind of show you another maybe one that I worked on just to kind of show you a little bit of a different feel. Same with this one. Let me put the velocity thing on here real quick. So this one has a few different sounds, some organ stabs that I played on the keys, as well as some other stuff that I manipulated on the keys, as well as kind of like a more subby bass, and then a guitar. Suck at this. Yeah. So here is the pattern that I came up with using these sounds. So let's meet some organs. But yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how I make these kits. And then I'll update everybody of when these kits will be available for purchase as well as download or whatever. And then yeah, I'll keep everybody updated on my new album. It's called Beyond the Sea of Trees. It's kind of like I said, if you listen to my podcast or some of my older videos, it's kind of like an autobiographical album version of myself. So it's it's a really natural sounding album. It's a lot of pianos and flutes and stuff, organic sounds. So it's not so rough. But yeah, that's kind of, I just wanted to show you basically what I work on, what my workload is right now on the day to day. But I will keep everybody updated. All right. Thanks again for tuning in. Peace.